I believe we face that dilemma, both as individuals and as a church. The cathedral at Chartres is one of the most beautiful in the world. At the time of its construction, the town had 35,000 people, give or take. It is amazing to think about how the people in such a small town built such an incredible cathedral. It was designed by an unknown architect who would inspire all of the great architects of the 13th century. The other amazing thing about the construction of this building is that most of those who started the construction, which took 66 years, knew that they would never see it finished. But they also knew that if they didn't start it, it would never be finished. And so they began. I see the same bold faith of those upon whose shoulders we, the Cathedral of Hope, stand on today. Some of us have been here from the beginning 10 years ago. Some of us are new. There are people who provided important support for this ministry that we remember. Some have all but been forgotten. But the faith of everyone that has been a part of this ministry can be seen around and within us today. Those who have contributed to our existence could have shut God out. They could have said, there aren't enough of us to get the job done. But when Jesus invites others to become disciples, he believes that love, forgiveness, and hope would make a difference. He believed that it would make a difference in the lives of those few fishermen that he talked to along the sea. He believed that love, forgiveness, and hope experienced by a few could be shared in a way that could make a difference in the lives of many. And it has. In my first year of seminary, I read a story that has stayed with me. It is a modern parable that speaks to the church today, and I'd like to share it with you tonight. On a dangerous seacoast where shipwrecks often occur, there was once a crude little life-saving station. The building was just a hut, and there was only one boat, but the few devoted members kept a constant watch over the sea, and with no thought for themselves, went out day and night, tirelessly searching for the lost. Some of those who were saved, and various others in the surrounding area, wanted to become associated with the station and give of their time, money, and effort for its support and its work. New boats were bought and new crews trained. The little life-saving station grew. Some members of the life-saving station were unhappy that the building was so crude and poorly equipped. They felt that a more comfortable place should be provided as the first refuge of those who were saved from the sea. They replaced the emergency cots with beds and put better furniture in the enlarged building. Now, the life-saving station became a popular gathering place for its members, and they decorated it beautifully and furnished it exquisitely because they used it as sort of a club. Fewer members were now interested in going to sea on life-saving missions, so they hired lifeboat crews to do this work. The life-saving motif still prevailed in this club's decorations, and there was a miniature lifeboat in the room where the club initiations were held. About this time, a large ship was wrecked off the coast, and the hired crews brought in boatloads of cold, wet, and half-drowned people. They were dirty and sick, and and some of them had black skin, and some of them had yellow skin. The beautiful new club was in chaos. So the property committee immediately had a shower house built outside the club where victims of shipwreck could be cleaned up before coming inside. At the next meeting, there was a split in the club membership. Most of the members wanted to stop the club's life-saving activities since they were unpleasant and a hindrance to the normal social life of the club. Some members insisted upon life-saving as their primary purpose and pointed out that they were still called a life-saving station. But they were finally voted down and told that if they wanted to save the lives of all the various kinds of people who were shipwrecked in those waters, they could begin their own life-saving station down the coast. And they did. As the years went by, the new station experienced the same changes that had occurred in the old one. It evolved into a club, and yet another life-saving station was founded. History continued to repeat itself, and if you visit that seacoast today, you will find a number of exclusive clubs along the shore. Shipwrecks are frequent in those waters, but most of the people drown. 10 years ago, when this congregation started, the people who were a part of that effort recognized that there were a whole lot of churches in this community, but in all honesty, many of them had lost track of what it means to be a follower of Christ. This congregation was started in an effort to reclaim a Christian faith that is characterized by extravagant grace, radical inclusion, and relentless compassion. And because of the efforts of those people, and many others since then, when my life was interrupted, I made the decision to walk into this church. And among you, I experienced hope and life, where in other places I had experienced rejection and pain. And I'm so very grateful that this church is here. The people who started this congregation could have said, I don't want my life to be interrupted. But they didn't, and I am grateful. They could have said, I'm too busy, but they didn't, and I am grateful. They could have said, but the challenge is just too much, but they didn't, and I am grateful. Thanks be to God, they didn't. Just look at what God, working through the persistent faith of a few people, has done. Just look at what God, working through every single person in this room, continues to do. Just look at these interrupted lives.